Dear students, today we'll consider Edward Hall's cultural grammar. He divided into cultural categories, and in cultural categories he said that context, information accompanying cultural event, and he is known for his high context culture and the low context culture. The next time, monochronic time and the polychronic time. And the third, we'll consider about space, contactual and distant space. Edward Hall was an anthropologist who made early discoveries of key cultural factors. In particular, he is known for his high and low context cultural factors. High context culture and the contrasting are terms presented by the anthropologist in his book. It refers to a culture's tendency to use high context messages over low context messages in routine communication. This choice of communication styles translates into a culture that will cater to in-groups, and the in-group being a group that has similar experiences and the expectations from which inferences are drawn. In a high context culture, many things are left unsaid, letting the culture explain. Words and word choice become very important in higher context communication, since a few words can communicate a complex message very effectively to an in-group, but less effectively outside that group. While in a low context culture, the communicator needs to be much more explicit, and the value of a single word is less important. High context culture. In high context culture, there are many contextual elements that help people to understand the rules. As a result, much is taken for granted. This can be very confusing for a person who doesn't understand the unwritten rules of the culture. In a low context culture, very little is taken for granted. Whilst this means that more explanation is needed, it also means there is less chance of misunderstanding, particularly when visitors are present. The next is category of time. As we have said before, there is monochronic time and polychronic time. M time, as Edward Hall called it, means doing one thing at a time. It assumes careful planning and scheduling, and is a familiar Western approach that appears in disciplines such as time management. Polychronic time. In polychronic cultures, human interaction is valued over time and material things, leading to a lesser concern for getting things done. They do get done, but more in their own time. The next category is space. Hall was concerned about space and our relationships within it. He called the study of such space proxemics. We have concerns about space in many situations, from personal body space to space in the office, parking space, space at home. Personal space is an example of a mobile form of territory, and the people need less or greater distances between them and others. For example, a Japanese person who needs less space thus will stand closer to an American, inadvertently making the American uncomfortable. Some people need bigger homes, bigger cars, bigger offices, and so on. This may be driven by cultural factors. For example, the space in America needs too great a use of space, whilst Japanese need less space, partly as a result of limited useful space in Japan. Thank you for your attention.